Monsignor Reverend Father Clarence Pariat, Vicar General, Diocese of Kannur, and our formal principal for his interesting and thought-provoking address. Thank you, Father. Next, I want to thank our speakers, Mr. Abhijit Pal and Mrs. Pushpa Pal, Enterprise Architects UK, who give their vital time for their busy schedule. We thank you for being with us. I thank Assistant Professor Shailesh Shivan, Sacred Heart College, Tevera, and Mr. Ranjit PV, Director, Biostatic and Programming, Bangalore, for handling the next day's sessions. I thank our principal, Vice Principal, Father Johnson Simeti, Manager Father Joy Painad, Assistant Manager Father Shijo Abraham for providing support for this webinar. I would like to thank HOD Jancy Joseph for welcoming the guests and participants. I thank the management and non-teaching staff for their contribution. I would like to place my hearty thanks to the organizing committee, students of our college, our department, students coordinators, Saurav and Misbah, and other students, especially Abhishek, Muhammad Sinan, Justin, Ashwant, Aishwarya, Anvia, Fatima Hashim, and Fatima Rashid. Thank you all for your active participation. Next, a special thanks to the teachers of our department for their constant support. Now, let us move to the end of this inauguration session. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. Our inauguration session is over. Moving on to the session proper. I'm so glad to invite our resource persons, Mr. Abhijit Pal and Ms. Pushpa Pal. First of all, I would like to invite Ms. Pushpa Pal, an enterprise architect, global finance at Shell, to GAFE certified architect with specialization in system integration, SOA, BizTalks, and ESB, established architect with proven track record and recognized among peers, hold a degree in computer engineering, member of Association of Enterprise Architects, an associate member of Institution of Engineers. So I once again invite Ms. Pushpa Pal to the webinar.
Thank you, Fatima. I hope you all could hear me. Let me share my screen. So
you're muted. You're muted.
Okay, you can share now.
Thank you. You could hear me all right?
Yeah, we can listen.
Thank you. Let me share my screen too. I can't share my screen. Jansi, could you please look at it? Okay, so while we do that, so thank you, esteemed guest, for your wise words. And I think it is exemplified the knowledge and wisdom that we all need, at every stages of life. So thank you, Ms. Jancy Joseph and the computer department for arranging this webinar. I truly believe this is important for the students to have wider knowledge outside your syllabus and daily work, to understand what is going on outside and what you're going to face once we finish your studies, the regular studies, when you go into your work, career, or business, or whatever that you intend to do. It is always helpful to have as much knowledge on this one. Let me see again. Can you make me host, Jancy, so I get to share my screen?
Jancy?
Yeah.
Hello, Jancy.
Yeah, I think it's good now.
Okay. Visible.
Okay, thank you. So before I start on the specific topic, let me introduce myself. So I am the lead architect for global finance in my company. So my company is a insurance company. It is the world's largest publicly traded PNC company, insurance company in the world. We operate in 54 countries with a 70 billion capital market value, and we around 40 billion US dollar net return premium. So that much money or the business that we write every year, and some part of it, or all that money which is comes in goes out, or these are all through the finance systems that I manage. That's my portfolio. So to start on, so 25 years back, I was sitting just in the same seat as yours, learning computer, and it has been a big journey to go through to reach where I am now. And I've worked on a number of technologies, number of areas in these 25 years. But I want to tell you that I've started my career as, as a teacher, teaching in Bombay JJ School. And I still consider on all these years, that is one of the hardest job still. So your teachers are doing a great job preparing you for the, the world outside, your career outside, the rest of it. So make most of it. That is what first I wanted to tell you. And you are all blessed in this time of technology. So you have the unlimited resource available to you, and you can do and learn just sitting at your home. So this wasn't the case when we started. So when I was in college, all the internet was just coming out. We really didn't even have an idea of the extent this technology is going to take us, and we didn't have the resources. So if you want to learn anything, the only options was your teachers, or you go to your library, college library, which is usually stacked with the books 50 years older than us. Those technology trends, you wouldn't get it in those time in your library and in the books. So you are blessed, and I feel um, you could anything that you want to learn, you should be able to do now. And thanks to technology, that is so easily available and it is free to learn. So make best use of it. Coming back to the topic, technology trends, and these are the ones which are coming in the next decade. When you are coming out of your college and you start working, these will be the areas that you would need to know what is going on around and prepare yourself so you can make most of it. Okay. And I think some of the speakers, and especially Dr. Babu Ando, has touched upon the technology trends. Thank you. And we will go a little bit more deeper into each of them, or the area of that, and then look at what technology, what skills that you need to prepare yourself, and and go ahead. So the evolution of tools and technology. So if you look at what made humans different from all other animals, is its use of tools. If you look at the evolution of that, that is what I think one of the key things which differentiated human beings from rest of it. Okay, so whether it is starting to do with your stones tools, or gone through the all ages, Iron Age, Bronze Age, and all other, it was about use of tools. Now we do have the best of technology available, so which make our life much easier. Not only that, and I think some of the philosophical concepts that the bishop has touched upon, or Mr. Muralidharan, it is the philosophy of your life, making best use of those technology, not only to better your own life, but also for others that you can do it. So there are so much areas that you can concentrate on. On the history so far, it's a brief history of technology. Uh, so far in 1960s to 1990, that is where the computer technology has evolved. having PC available, a personal computer being available to the general public, and internet, evolved over these years. And in 1990s, I mentioned specifically because that is when I was in the college and studying it. So that time, the biggest thing, the Windows UI has come up. And the use of internet was available to the public. Laptops or personal computers were available. In 2000, moved on to portable technology. So if you look at mobiles, that time it was rare. Now every other person has a mobile, more than one, some of them, and you have all your social medias, all your iPods, iPhones, or not, all that has been established. It started in 2000, and in 2010s it has been expanded for wider usage. So I remember listening to some of those speech by Bill Gates saying, in the next few years, your CD drive, your hard drive, and these are all going to disappear, and you're all going to be able to connect real time to the network anywhere in the world. That time it was like a prophecy, but so soon it has become a reality. Now look at us now sitting in the different parts of the world. Now you can connect instantly and share information or get any sort of data. And on the technologies, you can see the lot of things have started already. The artificial intelligence, it has been for some years now. It is taking central stage again in applied use of it and wider use of it. Okay, technology. So there is different phases for technology. So technology has been invented or created, but it takes time for apply that technology for practical problems. So that is what we will see. That's in 2020. So these are happened. So now let's look at what it is going to be. Those technologies going to be much popular, much in use in 2020s. If we look at that, so that's one. So there are so many more, but I have classified or put this up in terms of practical use, where you will find that you will end up working in this next 10 years. This is the one which I classified. So these are becoming much popular. And if you look at globally, most of the companies have started using them in some form or the other. Some very much technology companies which are evolving, they are using much more of that. So you will say, as computer students and scholars, it is up to you to learn them. you know what you learn in the college, mostly that the fundamentals that you learn, so you can get additional knowledge on these trends and technology skills and prepare yourself for the coming years. So just to summarize, so the key or the most used one are digital platform. If you look at, we are currently using one of them, the Zoom. So one of the most what is a popular one since the COVID lockdown started. So Zoom's shares has gone up really high. So that is very innovative technology to connect all of us, and this. So they say, innovation comes, when there is a need, that is where the innovation comes. So it is for you not only to learn, but to keep an eye on what is happening, what is the need, and respond to it and provide technology to resolve problems. That is how you make progress. Okay, in terms that you could, you make yourself better and also helping others. On the processing area, cloud and edge computing is now extending to almost all the world. So that is going to be the to be technology when it is coming to how you going to store and process. Okay, so it is very important. artificial intelligence and machine learning. So this is being coming into more applied usage. That is, I think we mentioned that once. Robotic process automation, that is one step before the full artificial intelligence usage, but RPA, we can use it for automating processes which doesn't need manual intervention. So it make it easier for humans to concentrate on other activities, freeing up their time. So that is RPA. On all these things, if you look at the data side of it, so every second we are producing more data. Okay, so that become, that's a big data out there. Earlier, as I said, you needed information that was available just in some printed books, right? So there was only very limited. Now, if you see now, every person, every human who have access to this one is producing data. You generate text, emails, or in the social media that you post, you put videos, photos, pictures, Instagram, all that, these are all data, and they are enormously useful if you know how to use them. So that is what the concept of big data and the analytics of it. So it's not just that you have a lot of data, you're sitting on it, it is not much of use, but that if we can analyze what that means to you and make sense of it and use in your for your purpose, then it makes sense and it makes add value. So that is where big data and augmented analytics comes from. I will talk about a bit on the next one, the blockchains and distributed ledgers. So some of you have heard of Bitcoins, the new cryptocurrencies, that is being in use. So there are other practical use for blockchain. So we will touch upon that. And the fourth one is the device oriented ones. Okay, so there is so much progress happening on, wearables technology. You can wear, you can keep it, and you can augment, as human being that we will look at. Autonomous vehicle, I think, Dr. Andrew has mentioned. So driverless cars are going to be the next big thing. If you look at the number of cars are there in the world, and that one, there is a big stock, that one you could move it. So if you don't need to drive, anybody can go anywhere, and we can pool our resources as well. So that is where the autonomous vehicles companies are spending billions on research. And then the biggest hot topic, that is the Internet of Things, IoT, that Abhijit would be taking you through in detail how and what it works. It's a great area to look up on. So that is on the summary. As I mentioned, there are so much more, but we have limited time, so we will look at what we can cover in this hour. The first one I mentioned, digital platforms. Okay, so a digital platform can be anything which use technology in an innovative way and help us to have a better usage, better use of it. So that is technology. So whether it is a video conferencing ones or it is an e-commerce. Okay, so earlier, if you look at traditionally, so if you wanted to sell something, okay, you open a shop, okay, and the customers come, buy and sell, but the footprint that you can do is limited. Now, the digital platform allows you to sell to anybody in the world, right? And you can collect the money digitally. You can send them or manage your stock, and you can send it, and you can manage the rest of the backend process as well digitally, right? So that is so anything which helps. So it takes not just only for selling goods. You consider your everyday life. So you do have a car, so you need car insurance, you need all the vehicles, certifications, etc. And then you go somewhere, you have or your house need utilities, your electricity or gas, or whatever things that they need systems to manage that. Then you go to bank, they will need a huge digital platform to support their activities. So if you look anywhere, any of the traditional business now, all of them are done through digital platforms. So you will need developers and all other people to create those digital platforms. So that is where you will find most number of jobs, right? And if you look at the way it evolved, these digital platforms, that is um, the experience of it is changing. Now earlier it used to be, okay, you got a desktop, right? You enter that through using keyboard and you can see this one, that's all. Now it is not like that. You could see that one in a mobile or iPad or any other ones, and you can connect your technologies like your Fitbits or iWatch or things. That information also can be connected. And I don't know if you have noticed, if you go into any of the site nowadays, you will get chatbots. May I help you? You will get a chat window asking any help, and you can chat. It's not the people or humans sitting behind those ones. These are all chatbots which can actually use natural language processing and artificial intelligence to help you answer your custom queries rather than a human being sitting there and answering it. So there is enormous ways of improving the customer experience to a digital platform. So it is getting richer every day using whatever mechanism available to collect data. It's not only just doing information what you provide. It will look at your history, what you have been doing, what you have been talking, and it can make intelligent decisions and tell you what is more relevant to you. Not just dump something like it is providing. It will give you something more relevant to you, what you really was looking sometimes back. And if you ever noticed something that you looked up in a shopping site, you might see that when you go into Facebook, there is an ad for that. Or you will find that appear, you're getting more emails on the subject. How they're doing it? They are collating the information which is relevant to you and putting it back. So it make more sense to you. It is not just noise, but it is helping out. So that is the multi experience in a different ways of interacting with the customer. That is going to be the thing for coming forward. So when you design a digital platform, so you need to be looking at all that case. So I provided, I'll share this content with you. So there is a case study of Domino's Pizza. Okay, so they have calculated that there are 34 million ways to order a pizza. If you look at the different toppings, different sides, different base, and all that, you could have it. So if you want to, their applications or apps, ordering app can accept as many variations. And also their application now is not just, okay, you ordered, you paid. It doesn't end there. So they also have a tracking system that your pizza can be tracked from the moment that you ordered until the point that it is received. So that is that multi experience that everybody is talking about. You get, as a customer, I get full value for my money from the time I ordered something and then, and received it. So that's sort of digital platforms that we are talking about. So when you go into, okay, at the moment you're thinking, okay, how do I get a job? Okay, so you need to think a little bigger and see what it what it takes to build that sort of one. When you look at and go into websites or things, look at what features they have. Look at, okay, how intuitive it is, how helpful it is. So when you think or take up those little details rather than just use something, that is how you are expanding your knowledge. Okay, when you are working on developing such a technology or a platform, yes, I can use these things, I've seen it here. So I'm asking you, as a student, keep your eyes open whenever you do something, anything. So someday that will be something that you can do it yourself on the platform, adding value to the customer, and that is how you generate money or source for you. social media is one of the fastest growing digital platform um, nowadays. Okay, if you look at the way Facebook has grown over the years, it was unimaginable. Okay, but if you look at what is that, Facebook gets from, so you don't pay money to Facebook. Okay, and but how they make money, how they become so valuable company, multi-billion companies in that limited time. So because of the data, the value of the data it collects, right? There is enormous data collected from every corners of the world that you are supplying yourself willingly, and they use it. Okay, they use it for marketing, they use it for advertising, they use it for collecting behaviorals and patterns and all that information, so that they can sell you something for which you will pay, right? That is how the market economy works, right? So don't think that one, okay, I'm just spending time on how does it, it's all. So you need to think when you're as an entrepreneur or as a developer or platform, you will use what can I use it to make it work for you. So that is what it is. So just, I mean, I'm not going into detail. We don't have that much time to go through that in details, but there are, if you are going to look for a job in software development or in a related area, so there are latest tools and technologies which are available. Okay, so there are different way of development methodologies like waterfall and agile. Earlier it used to be waterfall, so you ask your customer what they want from your system, and then somebody design or architect that one first, and then you develop, then you unit test, and then you do the user acceptance test, and then you produce deploy. So that used to be the waterfall model that we used to follow. But the problem is it's changing so fast. So the projects take no 1 or 2 years. In 2 years time, the whole technology landscape is changed, your whole requirement is changed. What you said in the 2 years back won't be relevant anymore now. So it doesn't make value. So that's a lot of projects, after spending so much money to develop it, has been bent for this reason, because it is not relevant anymore. So that's why companies are going to agile methodology. That is, it's a short sprint cycle. I can deliver it in 2 weeks, 4 weeks. Some level of functionality which I need, I can develop, test it, and deploy it, and users can use it in 2 weeks or 1 month or 2 months time. So that is a different type of development. So that is a development methodologies. And on development tools, okay, I don't know what you are learning, C++, or Java, .NET, etc. But to these all will go to a development framework at the moment. If you look at all major companies, they follow a development framework which is called DevOps. Okay, so there are technologies and tools help you to write code, test it, deploy it, and move it. So that is what it helps. So you need to be able to understand what that tools are. So read up on. There are so many different tools out here that in doing that integrated framework. So learn. You can all learn it in online and find it out more information on it. And for software packaging, okay, earlier it used to be you create a virtual physical server first, and then it was virtual machine. Now it is all on containers, so that you can easily deploy software packages. So just read out about the containerization, and the platforms which helps, like a Docker and Kubernetes, that is a container orchestration which helps in the packaging and deploying of that easily. So in these all will be asked. If you look at career sites or jobs, they will be asking for developers or people with those knowledge. So you need to understand what they are. You can look up and doing. So I'm just giving you a framework to look up on. what that development process is for digital platforms, right? Next one is cloud and edge computing. This is key. So it has started, I believe, the first conference, Microsoft conference I attended in almost so many years ago. They said that cloud is going to be the next big thing. Taken some time, but it has taken root now. Every company, including mine, is using cloud increasingly for hosting our applications. So it is, if you look at if I give you an example now, say that you have, all of you have cars, right? So you have your own garage or driveway where you park it, so you have to pay for that. But if in a big city and all, if you go, you won't have your own space. It is easier to go choose an option for a car park and pay for the time that you was there, right? So the first the model, if you're giving, so infrastructure as a service, that is called IaaS. So if you want the computer resources, that is where you're saying you pay money and get the infrastructure rather than setting up your own. So that is infrastructure as a service. And then suppose in some hotels or etc, you just go with your card and they will give you somebody, a valet will take your car and park it for you. So that is additional service, not only space, but additional service. So that is similar thing is called platform as a service, right? They will give you the operating systems and all other platforms, if it is Outlook or mail, they will give you not only the computers storage space and processing, but it will also give additional software that need to run it. So that is called platform as a service. Then the next one is called a SaaS, software as a service. That means, say that you don't even need to own a car. Somebody giving you if you just order, you will get a limousine, with a driver. You can go anywhere. You can, throw some champagne along with it. So that is called software as a service. You may need to pay more for it, but you don't need to manage your software or application yourself. That is called SaaS, software as a service. Okay. So these are the various concepts in cloud computing that you would need to know. And edge computing is the new term that, because it's all on the internet. So if needed to reduce the latency, how fast it responds, that you need to make it closer to you. Okay, source processing, if you are in this area, you will find a server closer to you and processing will be done. That is called edge computing. Okay, so these are on the topic of cloud and edge computing. And if you want to work on it, the required technologies and resources, that is like, okay, you need to know about infrastructure. Okay, various computer infrastructure in place currently. What are the different server types or storage, or what sort of network and connectivity, that is express routes, etc. And then there are so many very popular or major cloud providers and technology, Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, IBM Cloud, etc. So it is good to know, because Microsoft Azure, if you want to host your applications in Azure, you need to know how Azure works. So they have a lot of trainings available. So you can look through what it is. Okay, if I want to use Azure, what I need to do. So go and learn those one. And Amazon Web Services, AWS, a lot of applications are now hosted in Amazon Web Services. So you can look up and see how it is to be used. So that is where you are, if you want to go into that sort of area, infrastructure and cloud, that's a very promising one. So every company in the world now, start using cloud, because it is expensive. If you want your own data center in your company, in your own building, is becoming more and more expensive, not just for the hardware, but the managing of it. So you need to keep the resources, you need to make it. Now with all the big data and all other data coming, the need for expansion is quite exponential, right? So it's not easy for you. If you have a box, computer box, you have to buy more and to expand it is not easy. So, but cloud will allow you to do that on demand. You can expand, okay, I only need, okay, my website works on weekends most. So I want more power and storage on weekends. That can be done with cloud. Okay, I was saying, oh, some of them is like the business application, so it is Monday to Friday is more, or my year end is much more busy, so I need more resources that time. So you can do that with cloud. So that is what it helps, and it is like running a big one, so it is easier for them to take use of the economies of scale and make it. So that is how it helps those cloud providers, and now it provides helps the users of these spaces. So that is where cloud and edge computing is coming. Artificial intelligence and machine learning. Okay, so these ones are has been there for some time, but now it is getting traction. So there are a lot of technologies out there, which is helping out in this one. So where are the applications? If you look at, okay, we want to automate something, so that is where it is being used. um, Voice interfaces and chatbots, that is where the natural language processing is. Okay, if you ever done a conversation with the Siri in your iPhone or Alexa, the biggest thing is that when they don't understand the context all the time. Okay, if you are speaking to a human, say you speak something, okay, how was your class on this one, and then you talk about next about exams, you remember what you talked before, right? So but these chatbots, it's so hard for them to connect the context. So they will tell you, you will always have to ask with all the context, otherwise you won't get the answer. So you're saying, okay, what was yesterday, and then you ask tomorrow, they won't remember and they won't. So this is where this natural language processing, how humans use language. We got emotions when we use. We don't need to always tell the whole sentence to make somebody understand what you are trying to do. So these NLP processes is trying to understand what humans really mean when they say something. Okay, so that is going to be applied in these chatbots and voice interfaces that we are seeing. So it is going to be used. Another one is a computer vision and facial recognition. So at the moment we look at an image and we understand what it is so hard for the computer to do the same, although it have all the processing one. But there are major enhancements happening in this area where you could identify images. So look at that one. So if you give a picture of somebody, then these big computers will be able to find out where that person is and who that is, and even if they change their facial one, they should be able to understand it. It's so much useful. So that's why in your iPhones or your new phones, you have facial recognition. So you look at the one, it will identify it is as you, and you don't need to enter a passcode to enter into that one. So that is how it is identifying. So these are all coming together in the AI world to make a much more practical application for that. So if you want to, so for example, I don't know how many of you watch Netflix or Prime, etc. I'm sure many of you. So have you ever noticed when you go into Netflix, it will tell you what you might be you might like to see. How it is doing it? It is identifying or recording what did you watch before, what did you talk, that predictive analysis they are doing that, since you watched last week all of action movies or James Bonds. Okay, there is a new action movie that year. I'm sure you might like it, and we'll show you in the suggested list. That's all the applications of it. You don't notice, but it is in use and everywhere. If you look at Amazon for ordering something, it will actually look at your prior choices and orders, and it will give you suggestions, or even because it is sort of making sense of the data available. You need to make it relevant because people don't have time anymore. So machine is helping to make it relevant, so you don't spend time looking for some information that they might know already. So that is where artificial intelligence is used. There is huge application for that, and there's machine learning, natural language processing, etc. is going to be an important part of in number of other areas, big data and digital platform, etc. that which we talked about. So if you wanted to get into that field, learn about deep learning platforms, machine learning platforms, and natural language processing. Learn about it. I've given some list out there on the right. You can see that one. So you look up how it is processing. So with that knowledge, if you're going in that field, then it will be easy on it, right? So that is where it goes. Going to the next ones, robotic process automations. This technology we mentioned a little bit earlier. So this is before the full use of artificial intelligence and automation. So, but we can use it. So we use it in our company. We use it extensively. So what it does, like in finance, for example, there are so many people who are looking at spreadsheet and manage, doing a bit of calculations, manipulation to generate reports, right? So you can use RPA technology to automate that one. So a human being doesn't need to look at 4 or 5 spreadsheet and collect the data and create a report. You tell a robot process to do exactly same thing. And it also use nowadays, it start using artificial intelligence also. It's do self-learn and make it can work like a human being on a repetitive work process. So that is where RPA comes in. So there are a lot of leading technologies out there, like Automation Anywhere, UiPath, Blue Prism, Work Fusion, etc. So our company uses Work Fusion to automate it, and it is used everywhere. So if there is no longer a need for a human to sit on a computer desk and do the same job every day. Two things. One is human beings are not built like that because we get bored so easily. Second thing is the quality of the work humans provide is much less than what a machine can do. So if you look at lots of people, like half the time they look at WhatsApp, Facebook, chat with others, go for smoke or drink, or all that time waste they do while doing a repetitive process because it is boring. It is, if it is not intensive, brain intensive things, human being get bored. So you teach a machine or a robotic process to do that for you, job done. It's much more accuracy that you can do. That is where RPA or robotic process automation comes. Big data and augmented analysis. It is a very, very, very big field now. Okay, almost all companies I know of the caliber, all working on big data. So it is effectively making sense of the huge amount of data that we have, okay, for our own purpose, and make sense of it. That is what big data is. Okay, so big data comes along with the analytics. Okay, what that data means to me. Okay, I think Dr. Babu did mention about current page predictive analytics. So how you prepare for how many hospital beds that you need, how many patients are coming in, going to come, etc. So they look at the data available and the pattern, and then you predict. It helps. And for a company, for example, so it use predictive analytics to do, okay, this year I did this much business, this much money I've collected, and these areas are growing. So how my next year is going to look like, and what resources I might need, and where are the growth areas, how companies understand that one using the data. And for companies like Amazon Prime or selling sites or all that, how you saying what is the next big thing customer wants, so I can prepare that and make money out of it. So that they do again analyze the data that is available. So it get the data from social media like Facebook, etc. What people are talking about, what is the nearest current trend in fashion or technology or tools or cars or etc. They collect that information to feed into their ongoing research, so they can come back with the the information that they would need. So that is the application of big data. And if you want to get into that field, there are a lot of technologies out there, which is supporting it. So you need to understand what is a OLAP database or data lakes, which is a collection of all the data that it is coming. R programming, Python, that I understand that you have subsequent workshops. So these are all going to help, and it's also related to your cloud computing, because it's huge amount of data. You need a much bigger resource to store it and process it. So usually big data platforms use cloud-based platforms to do that. And then the visualization, you might have learned statistics in college. Just don't consider as your boring subject. It's quite useful. So all the predictive analytics, etc., is based on statistics. R programming is based on statistics. So you need to learn or give a little bit more attention to your statistics scores and math scores. So it is going to help you out in that. Okay. And if you're speaking about technologies, Apache, Hadoop, Spark, NoSQL, Hive, etc., these are all the leaders in technology in the big data space. Learn about them and what it does and how it works. So it will help you, to go into that field, for that. So big data, the thing is you collect the data, store it, you prepare the data, and then you analyze the data to display in some form which makes sense to the end customer. That is all big data is about. Blockchain and distributed ledgers, I would briefly touch upon. Our time is, how long I have, Nancy?
You can take the lost time, I think.
Okay, so we got a big topic IoT coming, so I don't want to
Okay,
take up,
okay.
the
Okay,
so
okay.
blockchain and distributed is a very interesting concept, right? I don't know how many of you heard of Bitcoins. Okay, it's a cryptocurrency. So blockchains are kind of, it's called distributed ledger. Why? So this is a block of data. Okay, and then if you're adding more transactions, what it does is it create one more block with a link to the previous block. So it is linked and it is distributed among so many participants, so you get not one central copy, but everybody have a copy of it. So it is effectively sharing data more securely among people and adding. So that is what blockchain effectively is. Okay, so what is the use of it? So information is about sharing. Okay, you cannot work on your own. So for insurance company, if you take, we do insure with the other people, it's called co-insurance or reinsurance, you do. So if you are going to insure a big flight, the MH370, for example, our company has had a stake in it, insure it. Or if the ships or these ones, so they don't do all one insurance company. They share the insurance cover among multiple ones, but we need to share the information between different companies, etc. So how do you do that? So the traditional way of doing it, you make a point-to-point connectivity to each and everybody and share that information. It's time consuming. So blockchain or distributed ledger could help in storing that information and share across the trusted parties. Okay. So you can have a private blockchain or a public one. Private one is organization wide or a group wide. Only those have access or they can only access that data. So that is what blockchain is. And Bitcoin is the most famous use of blockchain. So Bitcoin is like, now if you say currency, okay, the Indian rupees, okay, that is managed by a central authority and Reserve Bank of India. So they decide, that what the value is and how much currency notes are available, etc. So you cannot print your own, but it's the bank is doing it. But if you move to a bank-based system, you don't use cash there. It is an account, right? I have, say, 100 rupees in my bank. I never seen 100 rupees, right? It is an account there that's saying, bank is saying I have 100. So I want to give 50 rupees to somebody. I tell my bank to send 50. So they maintain that transaction, and the second person's account will they plus 50 rupees. That is adding that one. So this is a central authority is managing that account rather than the real cash. Okay. So in the Bitcoin concept, what it's saying is you have a unique identifier for that, and then every person who has that, okay, this coin belongs to this person, okay, and then if that person transferred to another one, it keep a transaction, that transaction in that coin. So and it is available to everybody. So what it does is it negates the need for a central agency like a bank to manage it. It is publicly managed. So that is the concept of Bitcoin. Is it sounds complex, but if you look into the details, it is not that only you could learn it. And there are so much application for blockchain. It is coming in the next decade. It is going to be used more and more. So look up and read through if you want to learn a bit more on that. Oh, next is interesting things of wearables and augmented humans. I don't know how many of you have seen the movie Avatar, or the old one with the Spider-Man and with the Dr. Octopus, right? So they had these big things which they can manage or control, which give you a ability more than a human could have, okay? So these were science fiction so those time, but it has become a reality now. So you could have extended, augmented, additional things that you can have to increase your power. So it is that is the one. So if you look at it, can be anything. So it can be sensory augmentation. So you can have a hearing, vision, or your perception that can be enhanced. So some examples I given e-sight, which you could, those who are legally blind, so it will take a lot of cameras in there. So it will actually take that one and come closer to your eyes, in a screen. So those people, some of the people can see it, but they can see only what is right there in front of their eyes. That helps. So that is the e-sight ones. Motion savvy is called, where you sign language. It can interpret sign language and convert into speech, or vice versa, speech into sign language. So those helping those people. Then again, the biological function augmentation is that exoskeleton that we mentioned about the Avatar and Dr. Octopus. That is where the augmentation of, and also it helps prosthetics. So you can have a really technologically advanced, artificial legs or, limbs, which you can control easily. I don't know how many of you read news. A couple of weeks ago, there was, the Elon Musk has demonstrated a pig called Gertrude, which had a chip in its brain. What it does is collect the brain signals and tell what it is. So it is the basic form. It is going to advance into that. It can be attached to humans and help the people and paralyzed, etc., to collect their thoughts and they can operate a computer. That is what eventually he wants to reach up to. So there are research going on for helping us to do that. Then there are cognitive augmentations. There is it helps to provide more information and help you make better decision. That is where the cognitive augmentation. So the thing is that, artificial intelligence work with humans to make us better. That is what it effectively is. So if you want to get into those field, right, you need a bit of electronics, hardware, instrumentation, etc. For that device specific one. But IT resources, you need to have again the cloud, big data, mobile computing, etc. for providing the supporting IT solutions. So that is a field that you could really work on. Autonomous vehicles, again, it's going to be a big thing in the next decade. There are most of the major, auto companies are, spending billions in research for doing one. So it is using, it's simple. So it is a variety of sensors, it is combining all together to make driving distance, that is what it is. So there is multiple levels of automation. So it is starting with, okay, just give warning if there is any things. That is most of the cars have now. Then the next one is like, okay, hands off. You don't need to do that one. The machine will do for you. But drivers still need to have a control. And then you can take your eyes off. You don't need to look one. It's only that in emergency that you need to do so. And then it's minds off, you don't even need to look. You can do anything that, read a paper or watch a movie. The cars will go on its own. So those levels of automation, that is what it is currently working on. Drones and unmanned aerial vehicles, that is pretty much in use now, especially with the military. So you must have heard for last years, the drones they are using to attack or monitor, or all sort of things. Drones are being used. So Amazon and other companies are doing delivery through drones. So that is you order, and in 30 minutes you will get in a drone delivery. That is what Amazon is working on, and then some other companies, that is the prototype says. So it is going to get bigger and bigger, and you will need, there will be a lot of opportunities out there. So they can look at, again, database programming, data analysis, AI, all these ones would be beneficial on that. Okay, the next big topic is IoT, the Internet of Things. That's very hot topic and very interesting. That's we have a separate session itself. So Abhijit will be walking you through what IoT is and how it can be, applied on what is useful. So I will hand over to Abhijit, unless you want a break in between. Abhi, just take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Pushpa.
Okay.
Can I request the host to allow me to share my screen, please?
Sure. Sure. Okay, now we are the co-host. For the session, please request all participants stay with us till 4:30. We are coming to the next session. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much. And thanks, Pushpa, for a wonderful session. I hope my screen is visible now.
Yes.
First of all, I must thank the Computer Science Department of St. Joseph College, Pilatra, for providing me this opportunity. So without wasting any more time, let's get on with this more focused topic, Internet of Things, or in short form, IoT. Very quickly, a little bit about me. Currently, I'm associated with the organizations in UK who is working into building the smart metering, the energy smart metering for the whole country, and building a lot of Internet of Things technologies. Before that, I was associated with the telecommunication industry, worked mostly into the fixed line telephone, like landline, or even the mobile industries across UK. I would like to cover the following topics, mainly what, how, where is this IoT. We heard a lot of these nice buzzwords, blockchain, IoT, edge computing. So allow me to unravel at least one topic is IoT today. While I was listening to Dr. Muralidharan and as he was talking about the clearing the concept, I will take an attempt to clear the concept on this IoT. Please tell me once the session is over. Is there any questions? You can write it to me or you can ask over the chat window. I'll try my best to answer. We don't need to go through in the details of this. What is IoT? These are obviously pictures taken from the internet. However, let me start with a very basic project. Many of you are familiar of this small computer. Yes, this is a Raspberry Pi. It costs around 2,000 or 3,000 rupees. Quite easily available. You can connect with the keyboard, monitor, and it does a pretty good job. However, some of you may be aware of this small electronic board. It is actually called Arduino. It's an open source electronic board, which is costing around 400 to 500 rupees, which you can connect to the laptop. It has got a very small processor, tiny amount of memory. You can write a little bit of code, and you can ask this electronic circuit board to do something. For example, you can see this black box. This provides multiple pins. You can connect different sensors or machines using cables with these pins. This is the USB port, the metallic box. You can connect with a laptop or computer to send any instructions. You can connect this with a battery power, or it can draw the power from the laptop using the USB. So with this Arduino board, we are going to make a small project today in these presentations. Let's see. Here are some pictures of some of the temperature sensors that is available in the market. Yes, that you are true, possibly thinking they're mostly made in China. It's quite cheap. It comes in a different form. And all this does is it can measure, these sensors can measure the temperature of the atmosphere or the surroundings area. And some of the sensor also can give you the humidity along with the temperature. So let's pick one of them. Say we're using this DST11. And we can connect this sensor and the Arduino using some cables just like that. So if you see, I connected that sensor, the DST11, the blue chip, with the Arduino board using 3 cables. The red and black is for the power, positive and the negative. And the blue cable is just reading the data from the sensor and putting into a particular pin on the Arduino board. Very simple circuit. If I connect this Arduino board with a laptop and just write few lines of code, if you look into the code, it's pretty simple that you tell that on which pin the sensor is connected, and then you are printing whatever data you are reading from the print. You can say that I'm printing the humidity and I'm printing the temperature. And I put a little delay up 2000 milliseconds, and I'll get the output on the computer screens just like that. So you can see that in few minutes, we can make a sensor working for us just by writing few lines of code, and we can get the data from the sensor using a very small electronic circuit. It can be done even with the Raspberry Pi, but I'm using a simpler device than Pi. Now, if we look conceptually what we just did on this slide, so we have a sensor. In this example, it's a temperature and humidity sensor. We have Arduino. It is sending the data to a computer. Yes, we can store the data in a nice database. And if you store it in the database, you can present the data in a nice dashboard, create some web pages, show some widgets. It will look good. So this is a very simple way of creating a temperature sensors and presenting the data that holds the temperature, holds the humidity. Remember that I connected the laptop and the Arduino using a USB cable. Now, if we look into what is this sensor and the Arduino actually consist of, bit in more detail level, obviously it has a sensor, the temperature sensor. It has got tiny bit of memory and the processors where you can write a little bit of code or instructions and asking that instruction to be executed again and again and again, so that the temperature data is sent to the Arduino board again and again. It needs some kind of power management. At the moment, the board is connected to the laptop, so it's drawing the power to the USB cable, but you can associate a separate battery power if you wanted to put this in a field. You write a little bit of additional code to transform your data. So at the moment, I'm reading the data simply, but if you wish to share the temperature and the humidity data in a binary fashion or in a text fashion, or even if it is a text, maybe in the XML format or JSON format or any other format, you can provide additional code. So you can change the format of the data. We can think of a bit of security on that so that whatever the data is getting generated and getting transferred, they are securely transferred. Nobody can see the data unless it reaches its destinations and received by the intended audience. And above all, obviously, you need a network interface. Like in this case, I'm using a USB cable, or instead of USB cable, you can use any other physical network adapter like a Bluetooth, like a Wi-Fi, like Zigbee. In that case, the communication would be wireless. So it is quite easy to get few of the chip, few of the devices with a correct set of hardware, and you can share the data from that device to the computer and to a nice presented dashboard. And if you do not use just temperature sensor, some other type of sensors, in this example, say soil moisture, particle measures, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide sensors, yes, we can create our very own weather stations project. And instead of connecting through cable, if we use wireless adapter, then it can share the data remotely to a central system. Now we can package those devices and we can call them as a device. So we do not say anymore it's a Arduino and the sensors, rather you make it as a nice box, put a battery inside, put some switches to switch it on, switch it off, and put it in a plastic box, put a nice sticker. Yes, your device is ready. So we can have a soil moisture sensor device, we have a temperature sensor device, so as the any type of device, and it can work with any computer and can share the data remotely. Now, if we like to share this data remotely for a short range communications, for a short distance network, like within the building, within house, within the campus, we can use some wireless technology which is for the short range, like a Bluetooth long range, Wi-Fi, Zigbee, Thread, Z-Wave, etc. No, you don't need to pay for these communications. You just need appropriate interface adapter in both sides, at the device side as well as the computer side. However, it is for the short range. So that means your computer or your data collection unit has to be within the distance, within the range of those devices. If you replace your network adapter with a long range wireless network, you can use a SIM card for 2G or 3G or 4G or 5G connections. However, if you're not planning to share lots of data, obviously you're not streaming Netflix or Prime. In this case, you're streaming hardly a few bits of data for temperature value or the soil moisture value. Then we do not need to go for a very high bandwidth connections, which cost more, like a 3G, 4G, 5G. We can actually think of cheaper connections, like a narrow band connections, like LoRaWAN or Sigfox network. However, the advantage is that in this case, these long-range communications can actually help to deploy these devices outside, and you can, instead of using your laptop, you can use a cloud server to connect the data. That's how you can create a weather stations project, just say spending few hundred. However, if you start creating more and more devices and start connecting to this kind of cloud server, the total cost of the project is going to increase. Why? Because just imagine that you're putting a SIM card in each and every device to connect individually. And they are using 3G or 4G connections. You may not need that much of data, but as you use your SIM card, so you might be paying for that SIM card for so many devices. So for few thousands devices, you'll be paying that many phone connections. And the cost of wireless network is going to go up. And these devices is going to send this data every second or every hour or every day. So lots of data is going to go to this cloud server, and you have to process lots of data. That means you will be paying for a much more high competition server in the cloud side as well. That's how the project cost may go up. So one of the solution to it is, let's get the data locally to a local systems or a gateway systems using a local network where using Wi-Fi or Zigbee, where you don't need to pay for the local connections. Process the data a little bit at the gateway systems, and then that gateway system can be connected to the cloud server using some kind of 3G, 4G, 5G, or LoRaWAN connections, and send the data to the cloud server. In this way, you are reducing the load on the cloud server. You are also reducing the number of wireless connections for the wide area network. That means you are actually processing the data locally. That means at the edge, you are processing the data. And that's the concept of edge computing. You may have heard the word edge computing. This is nothing but processing the data locally before you send it to the central system, instead of overloading the central system. Now, if we look at this diagram again, that we started the work with a sensor, and what sensor is doing, it's just sensing some parameter like temperature or moisture. So sensors is mostly for read-only purposes. It is mostly providing an one-way communications from sensor to the central system. However, it need not to be one-way. You can make it two-way by replacing the sensor with some actuator. Actuator is something which actually can do some work, like it can activate a pump, lever, switch, it can turn on the switch, it can activate a machines. So anything that you can consider, you can connect, and you can control or operate remotely. And you can imagine that what you can do with that with this solution. This shows that any devices or anything, not just computer, can communicate remotely. And now if you look into the definitions of the Internet of Things, I hope it will make some sense. Next important question is where IoT is used or can be used. You're probably using the IoT without knowing that it's IoT. Some of you must be using lots of smart home appliances, which you can control through your smartphone, switching on the light or switching on the thermostat or mobile phone connected air conditions. These are all examples of the IoT. Even nowadays, the car started using IoT because today's car, the engine and all other systems within the car is communicating not always through the cable connected, but wirelessly. Some examples in this picture below. In some countries, IoT is already started using in the agriculture, whether it's for the irrigations, for the water management, for soil moisture, for harvesting, or for just for the health of the crops or health of the livestock monitoring. It's already in place. And as you think in that, okay, this must be very, very sophisticated technology, but it's not. It's a very simple sensor which you can connect using a very lightweight computer for doing the edge processing and share the data with some clouds server, AWS, Azure, whatever you can get it, and present the data. One of the big use of the IoT is in the industry, and it is termed as a IIoT, industrial IoT. And this is already happening, and this is already happening in India. Most of the big factories is already using IoT to monitor their heavy engineering systems. I know lots of big names, starting from Tata Steel to Bajaj to Reliance, they're already using. If you see the example in the big pump here, they put the sensors on the pump to measure the vibrations, measure the temperature, to monitor the health of these pumps, health of these motors, to manage remotely rather than so many people need to be on the shop floor for that. The same thing for the automobile industry, robotic arms are getting monitored using the IoT. Some more example, it is getting used in passenger traveling systems. You may have seen in some places that while you're waiting for the bus stops displays the time that what is the estimated time of arrival of the bus. The big buildings, multi-storied buildings started using IoT for monitoring the different, say for example, the temperature or the light is on or not, whether light is working in any of the floor for a multi-story building. Fire safety, all the alarms are activated or not, such things as in the picture on the bottom left. And it is also getting used in a massive scale for the city area. Whether it's a waste management, whether the bin in the city center is getting full or not, it can send a signal to show that, okay, the bin is about to full, so somebody should come and clear the bin. The electric vehicle charging, like which electric vehicle charging unit is free so that the person can go there and start plugging in. The smart metering, another one example, that nobody needs to go to your house to check the meter, or you don't need to read the meter and update the meter reading, rather it will send automatically. Wherever you can look up, the opportunities are endless. And I'm not talking about a technology that is going to happen in the next decade. It's actually happening now. And not just by sitting here in UK, I'm telling you, it's actually happening even in India. As I said, that industrial IoT is very much there in all the big industries. Now, if we look in this diagram, it might make some sense that the IoT is nothing but you generate some data from some machines or device or sensors, which is given in the number 1 diagram here. In the point 1, the data is getting collected in a local computer. So you're doing some kind of processing, or we can call it as at the edge, you are processing the data before you share the data remotely over a wide area connections to a centralized system. And then that data can be presented in an appropriate fashion. There are other technology, Pushpa already talked about the big data. So using the appropriate analytics, you can create a meaningful insight of the data and present to the user. If you look into the platform in the right-hand side picture, you see the same thing on the left-hand side. The machines are connected. The data then collected together. You apply some protocol, whether how the data will be packaged together. It's XML, JSONs, you encrypt it, or you just provide a only wrapper on the top of it, put a header and footer, and send it to the edge gateway machines. And the edge gateway systems will send the data remotely to a centralized server, or we can, if it's a multiple systems, we call it as a platform. And that platform will gather the data. You can build nice dashboard. You can have appropriate analytics engine to create appropriate view so that the user of the data can use these systems for monitoring their industry, their big farms, big machines, or they can actually remotely do something. For example, you might have heard, or it's going to happen, that people say that the 5G is very, very important for IoT. Why? Well, 5G is obviously high bandwidth. Everybody knows that, higher than 4G. But the advantage of the 5G is that not just the bandwidth, rather the latency. It's a very low latency solution. That means latency is the delay that is caused in the network. So 5G is low latency. That means if we use 5G for your IoT solutions, the delay due to the network will be much reduced. So do not get surprised if doctor starts operating someone remotely by controlling some kind of joysticks sitting in the other part of the continent, but actually operating on us. It sounds like a sci-fi movie, but not anymore. In the project, we just build a very simple temperature sensor or weather stations demo. But when you're going to deploy this kind of device on the field, whether it's for agriculture, whether it's for vehicle, it's for your own home, we need to think about the security. Now, before going into the details of the security, let's understand these major components. As we just learned, you need some device. It could be a sensor or anything that can take an action. Those devices are connected to a gateway systems, which is a local data collection systems, which then connected to a central system, possibly a cloud, which can use analytics to present the data to an appropriate interface, whether it's a laptop, mobile, or anything. We need to ensure that the security is in place for each and every components of this solution. So if we start from the left, how do we ensure the device that we just created is secure so that nobody can tamper? Even if somebody is trying to tamper, you can get an alert that yes, there is a tamper detection sensor is there. So if somebody is trying to open the plastic box, you get an alert and you can see that yes, somebody is trying to tamper the device. How do we ensure that nobody can see the data from the what device is getting generated unless it is reached up to the user interface? So you must think of providing some kind of encryptions at source, at the origin, so that as soon as the data is generated, it's packaged in such a way that only the intended user at the very right can decrypt it. So even if somebody is trying to get into the wireless network or in the cloud systems, what they see is the very gibberish data. They can't see that this is the temperature of, say, 30 degrees. It's coming from your house in this address, in these GPS locations. No. So you have to ensure the security for each and every component on this IoT. One is we talked about the device. Next is same thing would be applicable to the gateway, that nobody we should have some kind of intrusion control. Nobody should be able to get into the gateway systems. The wireless network should be secure. For example, I'm sure you have heard about the SSL or TLS connections. So as sharing the data from the gateway to the cloud. And once it is within the cloud, cloud has its own security. You can implement a lot of security features on that. These are some of the area that we need to pay attention to while we are building the IoT solutions for industrial scale. The data confidentiality, to ensure that the data that is getting generated, it is only reaching to the right audience and no one else can look into it. So as the data privacy and the trust, I'll talk about this trust a bit. In the solution that we build, the temperature sensor project, it is going to a cloud server. How the cloud server know that the temperature sensor is indeed the right sensor and nobody put a rogue device on this network? So then there's a concept comes with all the sensor ID or the device ID must be genuine and unique. This is just like you may have heard that each of your mobile has got a IMEI address. It's a unique identifier for each and every mobile in the world. Why? This is just to ensure that each and every mobile is trackable. You may not be able to track on your own, but at least it can be tracked. Same thing here, each and every device that you connect on the network should have a unique identifier. And those unique identifier must be registered in the central system, so only you allow genuine device to be connected to your system. Some of the topic I can touch upon for implementing the security on the IoT is IoT authentications, what I just talked about, that ensuring that the unique identifier of each and every device is pre-registered, or at least there is a mechanism to register in runtime so that you know the genuine device is on the network. The security of the network, we must ensure that the network is protected. It is using some kind of encrypted link like TLS or SSL for a wide area network, or if you're thinking of the MAC security or IP security. Think of the using of cryptography, either symmetric or asymmetric. If it's asymmetric, using the public key cryptography for digital signature, for the non-repudiation factor, encryptions for the integrity and the data protections. IoT security analysis, security analytics, and API security. API security in the sense wherever once the data is collected in the database and you wanted to share that with other systems using an interface, using an API, how do you ensure that the only right person can access that API? And above all, encryptions, that the data must be encrypted at source so that even somehow someone is getting into the network, what they see is not very useful to them. We need to ensure that the data is encrypted in such a way that only the right or intended audience can decrypt the data. It is a big topic on its own to go into the details of the security, that how message authentication code, which is a symmetric signature, or how digital signature is used. How do you use a message header like a packets, etc. If you are interested, we can provide further details, maybe in a separate sessions, or I'll share my contact details. If anyone is interested, you can write it to me. However, in the right-hand side, you can see some of the parameter that is used to protect the device, like the hardware security key storage, the secure ID of the device, the hash accelerator, the key generator are used to ensure that what your sensor is generating, it is indeed secure and nobody can just look into it. I'll give you some real life example that some of your phone must be having the finger touch screen, not only the touch screen, but the thumbprint sensor. It can unlock your phone using your thumbprint, or it can unlock your phone using your face detections. The picture of the thumbprint or your face picture is actually stored in your phone in a hardware secure module. It is not stored in a memory card so that anybody can get into it and take it. So even if you give your phone to someone to repair your phone, they can't see the data because it is not stored unencrypted in a flash drive or memory drive. It is stored in a secure chip called hardware security module, and you can't get into it. You can't get into it because the processor of your phone and the chip uses encrypted communications. So even if you're trying to tap into that circuit, you won't be able to see the data. That level of securities are enforced, and this is already there in all of your phone who has got this kind of thumbprint or face recognition unlock features. So you can see that some of this technology are already in place, and probably you are already using it without knowing that that's in place. I probably gone too fast. I'm considering the time. It's almost 4 o'clock, I guess. I am happy to take any questions either verbally or over the chat window. Or if you have any more questions, you can write it to me in the email address. I guess I think I managed to provide a little bit of information on how the IoT is actually built and how the IoT is getting used in today's industry. With that, I'd like to conclude my sessions, and I'd like to hand over to Jancy and Fatima. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Abhijit and Pushpa. It was a very wonderful session. And Fatima Hashim, please.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir. Thank you so much
Fatima,
for spending your
voice
hours
break.
here.
Okay.
let's come to session. For that,
Okay. Speak.
yes, sir.
Okay, let somebody else
Please,
take over.
Fatima, Rashid, please unmute your mic.
Okay.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
For that, please, if somebody has any questions, queries, you can ask now.
Hello, Pushpa and
Anybody
Abhijit.
willing to share any feedback? Anyone?
Hello, Pushpa and Abhijit. I am Dr. Muralidharan. Your classes have been very insightful, excellent classes. We got an overview of all these things, especially about augmented humans and all that. I have a question to Pushpa. You have mentioned multiple touch interfaces. I didn't get what it is actually.
So multi-touch interfaces means traditionally, if you wanted to connect, give input to the computer, to an application, it is either you type or you mouse, and this one. Now, what with augmented technologies are that you can connect to n number of devices for that input. So you could have your iWatch or Fitbit or etc. that can connect or automated information into it. Artificial intelligence can collate the data about your behavior or your past searches, etc., and give information to the applications. So in all, what it says is that you would have so many different levels of interfaces with the application to make it more intuitive or intelligent and make it much more easier for the user to operate it. So it's more of a people-centric approach rather than like in any longer there is no requirement for people to know the technology to operate a digital platform. So it's so much easier now. So if you look at iPhone, that is I think was a success of iPhone. Even the a 2-year-old baby can operate iPhone. It is not used to be the case before. If you look at old phones, where it was harder. So it is coming to that level of automation or level of sophistication in computer interfaces. That is what I was referring to.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
If any of you have question, you can ask in Malayalam also. So I could translate for Abhijit or I can answer it myself.
Fatima, you have no questions, Fatima. Two Fatimas.
Well, the class was, the presentation was really amazing that you had shared your vast experience. Well, I know that you both have 20 years of more than 20 years of experience in this industry. Well, it's like we got a good opportunity to have you both here. Very thankful. No more questions. Really.
Yeah, so what I
enjoyed
want
listening.
to say that to you, Fatima, is if you look at the emerging technologies, these are new. IoT is new, automated vehicles are new. Those things are very new, and you guys have a big advantage over us old people. You have fresh mind. You are starting now with that enthusiasm and energy. You can learn and you can be expert much quicker than old people like what. So take that chance, use your time looking upon, and I mentioned earlier, the information is easily available to you. So if you do take that opportunity, learn, you will have a better chance of defining what it comes in the future. Okay. And if you look at, we think, okay, what am I to do in sitting in Pilatra or in Kannur? But let me tell you, my experience over these years, those young minds have so much more to give. And anywhere, any country you take, I've traveled extensively, and I see Indians making a mark, not only in IT, in every field. Compared to the natives, we always think Europeans and Americans are, much advanced. Not really the case anymore. So you have, if any young mind like you, one can make that difference. So the criteria or the thing is how much interest that you have in a particular subject or topic, and how much knowledge that you can acquire, and how to apply it. So you can compete with anybody in the world. So this digital technology has helped you sitting in anywhere. You can work for anyone, you can do it, and you can work with those who are. So in US and in Europe, you have advanced technology and infrastructure, but you can make use of it using the technology itself to make that contribution and be one. And everybody has that opportunity now. It is the course of the future is based on how much skill that you can provide. So India would has a huge level of skills and young resources. So it can make a really, really big part. And I'm sure, the globe will appreciate that. So that's why you would find, lots of people out there. So make use of it. Don't spend all your free times on WhatsApp and Facebook. Just look at what technologies are out there and learn from it. And if you use anything and look at how it is built, and they're saying, okay, if I want to make, what do I do? So I can start a project on. So it's a global world now. You can compete with anybody. You can be as equal as anyone. So there is no hindrance where you are from. That's what I was referring to earlier. You could sit in Pilatara and be the world, leader. You can make difference. You can invent things. So not just look at that one, okay, how do I'm going to find a job and, no, you should think big. You should think that one, how I can make the new technology or invent something new and the whole world will use it. You can be a millionaire or billionaire sitting where you are. What all it need is use your mind and use your knowledge and use your enthusiasm and energy that you have in us being young to shape the future. If the number of people who are listening, if at least 5 or 10 get inspired and do something different, it's you all got that power and you got your age on your side. So be inventive and make difference.
I just wanted to add one thing. I just realized that my presentation probably sounded a bit more towards the electronics, but trust me, I'm not an electronics person. However, I started working with this Arduino board or chips. So it's just like playing with the Lego, the way kids play with the Lego. So I'm not from the electronics background, but I started working in the IoT and building the IoT in the industry. So you can start with this kind of simple chip. You don't need to be master of electronics. You can get a lot of guides from the YouTube or other websites that how to connect these things. For example, you can simply make automated IoT solutions for something of your home, whether switching on the light or switching on the pump without going to the place to switch on literally. You can do it through through your computer or laptop or mobile phone by spending not even 500 rupees. And that is possible. And you don't need to know lots of computer programming for that. You literally doesn't need to be a master of any computer programming, very basic level things. Only the thing is that you just need to think that, yes, you can do it. And that's it. If you just Google for Arduino and go to the YouTube, there are kids are building robots, literally playing robots, not by buying robots, but by building it something which you throw away in your daily life. So things are pretty simple. You just start looking into this area. And when you look at it, IoT or blockchain or edge computing, this sounds very hi-fi stuff. It's not. It is actually not once you start getting into the concept that connect anything to do something. That's it. That is the Internet of Things.
Okay, Fatima Ketile. Your subject has infinite scope. Sitting in Bilatara or at your house, you will be able to do things. Starting with
Yes.
rupees 500, even lower budget.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for sharing such ideas and for your support and all. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Thank you.
Okay, Rajimis.
Hello.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm congratulating the organizing team. It was an excellent session.
Please introduce
Okay.
yourself. Please introduce
Can
yourself.
see you, Rajimis.
Can you hear me?
We can see you. Please open your camera.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. One question. Actually, at present, we are doing some new projects in farming sector. We are implementing the smart farming project. We are trying to implement IoT components, yet temperature, humidity, using the sensors, tracking the data. And another thing, we have started online ordering portal, e-commerce portal. Then now we are trying to implement the blockchain method. So, ma'am, you have explained the Bitcoin concept. Can you explain that concept? How we can interlink the e-com or e-commerce or delivery platform? Can you explain once again, ma'am?
Yes, Bitcoin. It's a really, I mean, I'm really happy that you're doing these projects, them and doing some hands-on. So that's really brilliant. And for using e-commerce, I mean, if you look at the normal ways of doing it, that now you can pay by your credit card or debit card or PayPal, different payment methods, for pay for a service or a product. Okay, so Bitcoin concept is more of a cryptocurrency that exists online, right? So cryptocurrency, just like our money, can be owned by people, and it can be used to pay for service of goods. There are number of companies, who actually take, Bitcoins, instead of, money. You can even convert in some place, the one currency, that one for usage. So if you want use it as a method, so I think you need to link to the Bitcoin's blockchain and to be able to transact, just like any other payment method, so that you should be able to do that. So the concept of Bitcoin or the cryptocurrencies are that I don't need a Reserve Bank of India or the UK Bank of England or any other body to control the money. It is global and it is exist in everywhere. So it is so hard to replicate, so it is highly secure way of doing it. And some governments as well, started accepting Bitcoin as the currency for. And Bitcoin, like any other currency, does have fluctuations. The value of currencies goes up and down based on, events. I think it is an interesting concept, and to look forward, to connect.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
the session and your brilliant answer. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. വേറെ എന്തെങ്കിലും ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ആർക്കെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടോ on the phone?
May I ask you one thing?
Yes, please.
This Bitcoin at any one point, can you convert it to the real currency and vice versa?
It
Or is
depends
it only
on
just transactions are possible with the Bitcoins, or can we take back the currency into a different form, Indian rupee or whatever it?
Some companies allows the currency conversion, but it's very limited to convert into physical, or US dollar or Indian rupees, that is limited. I believe some of them are started to look at, that option. Currently, Bitcoin's application exists as a currency. You can use it for pay for services by supporting providers.
Okay, it's more like a stock exchange. This thing.
Kind of similar, yeah. But you don't use a stock for pay for things like that. But this one is more like you can use it. Okay, 100 bitcoins for this one, etc. It does actually have a monetary value. Anytime that if you look at, there is an exchange rate for Bitcoin.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I have a question to both of you. If suppose our college wants to install a learning management system, which would you suggest? A platform, learning platform.
So, learning management, I don't know, Abhijit, you have any particular knowledge on that? You get from Microsoft or Google, etc. Coming up with the learning management. I need to look up, and I can look up and come back to you on that one.
So I really do not have any ready name, but I'm aware of that Google and Microsoft both are providing their cloud-based learning management systems or services.
So will it be affordable to a college like that of ours? That's the issue.
The thing is, most of these big companies are providing a discounted or pretty much reduced price for these colleges for the education system. So the way enterprise organizations buys those services, it will be much cheaper if it's for education purpose.
Yeah, for example, if you buy, you have Zoom, for the college, it will be so much cheaper than we as company. In our company is Zoom, or we have our own learning management platform, but we pay so much higher price. But for educational purposes, most of the companies give a really good deal.
Okay. Reduced price.
Yes.
Okay.
And there is LinkedIn is also providing management platforms. What I think I suggest is you could write to these companies, and then they should come back to you. There should be some contact points where which will support education and social planning.
Okay. Thank you.
നീ കടയിൽ പോവാണോ? ബിച്ചേട്ടൻ്റെ കടയിലാ? അവിടെ
Anyone like to share the feedback? Anyone?
Yeah, I will share this content, the slides with the Jansi, and then you could have, and there are links and references in that one for further reading. So so please go and read on and prepare for the next decade. It's yours.
Thank you. I have requested Jansi for this.
Okay, thank you very much. And now it's the time to wind up our session. It was a lengthy session actually, but we have to get more time to get more deep to this. But you both delivered the topics very interesting. Okay, we are very happy, and I'm very thankful to you to share your valuable time. It's much 2 or 3 hours for us. It's thank you. And now this time it's okay. Now we can reach to the till UK. So we are happy. Actually, we are take this time very what I can say. We take it very valuable. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. We're looking forward to you, and we will ask you more session in the coming time. It's okay. Thank you very much. And,
thanks to all of you.
Thanks everybody. All the best.
Okay, and Fatima Rishi.
Thank you.
I invite Fatima Rishi to vote of thanks. Let's conclude this session.
Good evening, everyone. I convey my best wishes to honorable resource persons, Mr. Abhijit Pal and Ms. Pushpa Pal, and all the other participants who have gathered here. Today, I'm honored to convey the vote of thanks. First of all, I extend my hearty gratitude to our resource persons who have spared their valuable time with us on this wonderful session on technology trends. Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am. The session was very informative and enlightening. I'm sure that the session was a catalyst in exploring and experiencing new technology. Once again, thank you. I would also like to extend my vote of thanks to all the coordinators of the program. Thank you. Last but not the least, I thank all the participants for making our program a success. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you. Thank
everyone.
you.
Our
Thank you,
session
Abhijit
will
and
be
Pushpa.
continue
You're
tomorrow
welcome.
Event
with the
Are you both
Python
from
programming.
Kerala?
and supporting us in this.
And no, I'm from Kerala and
Yeah.
Abhijit is from Kolkata.
Yeah, I see. I see.
Yep. Pushpa Pal is my sister.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you have a Calcutta connection, Jansi.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
That was very fine.
They are strongly connected to Calcutta.
Okay.
And now it's
Okay.
to UK too.
I never heard from you. And anyway, it was very good. It was fine. Meeting you, listening to you, and clearing our doubts. We look forward to more sessions like this,
Indeed.
more
Yeah,
updates on what happens.
we are happy to, and I think it is time to give back to when
Yeah.
we came from there and the experience that we had, we learned, we had over the years, and it is beneficial to the young minds, making a mark. So happy to help.
Thank you. Thank you. My son is doing this information management studies.
Hello?
My son is studying for information management
All right.
in UK, in US, in the US, Dallas. Now having his internship there.
UTD-ലാണോ സാറ്?
UTD ആയിരുന്നു, UTD.
അതെയോ? എന്റെ മകൻ അവിടെയായിരുന്നു ചെയ്തത്.
കഴിഞ്ഞോ?
അവനിപ്പോ ആമസോണിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്.
ശരി.
ബിസിനസ് ഇന്റലിജൻസ് എഞ്ചിനീയർ ആയിട്ട്.
Okay, let us continue
Thank you.
tomorrow with the other session, Python programming. You are still with the real trends of computer science. So see you tomorrow, all participants. It's from 10 to 12 o'clock tomorrow. So see you there.
So just instruct participants not to ask for feedback forms in between.
Yeah, it's
because some participant started asking for feedback form at 2:50, and the program started at 2:20 or 2:25, right? 15 minutes they ask for feedback forms. So we have to discourage such kinds of participants. Jansi.
Okay, sure, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody, and wishing you a really good workshop for the rest of the week. And thank you, Jansi, for organizing it. It was really great. Thank you.
Okay, let us.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
So it went without any technical glitches also. It was fine. Well managed.
For tomorrow's session, we have to do with the Python. We have to get ready with the Python software. So the participants get instructed through this. And if you have any query on this, you can ask in the WhatsApp group. Okay, we are there to support you. Thank you. Thank you.
I won't be there tomorrow.
Okay, sir.
And see, it will be too tedious for me because it is very much technical.
Thank you for your time. You. ഇത്രയും സമയം ഒരുപാട് സമയം സാർ ഞങ്ങളുടെ കൂടെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. വളരെ നമുക്ക് ഭയങ്കര എന്താണ് ഇൻസ്പിറേഷൻ ആണത്. താങ്ക് യു.
Okay, welcome.
Let's end the session.